Welcome to our meeting. Let's get a bit drawn out now. I know that we've gathered here from different political parties. A lot of us have got a lot of political experience here. We've come from different political parties, from UKIP, from nationalist parties, from populist parties. I'm sure there's people here from the Conservative Party. And we need a vehicle, don't we, to campaign in this country. We need a vehicle that we can all come together and start to fight elections and start to make our presence felt patriots in this country, because we are desperately needed. I voted for Boris Johnson at the last election on the Brexit issue because I believed his promise that he would get us Brexit and that we would believe in the European Union, first of all politically and then economically at the end of this year, and then he was committed to that. And it was an important promise because none of the other parties were in any way committed to fulfilling the referendum result. So we were left with little choice, to be honest. Once Nigel Farage pulled out all the Brexit candidates from Tory seats, we had to have a Conservative government to get Brexit. But Boris promised a lot more than a Brexit, didn't he? He promised to revive Britain. He said he would stop immigration. He would revive the national spirit. He would put British people first. And we sort of thought, wow, this is like a Trump in Britain. We've got a new beginning here. There's new hope for this country. And when he won an 80-seat majority, he had nothing to bind him, nothing to hold him down. You know, he has now got the power to fulfil whatever he desires in Parliament. He can push through any legislation he needs. Now, we began to see Boris unwind very quickly. He started to speak a different rhetoric. As soon as he was elected, he stopped speaking the rhetoric of he was going to, revive Britain. And he went back to this sort of political correctness, this, what I call the Tony Blair paradigm, putting outsiders first. Don't worry about the fans, guys, just leave it. Putting outsiders first, right? He went to a conference of Africans and he said to the Africans, I'm going to make it easier for Africans to come to Britain, to study, to work and to settle here. I thought, that's not the message we got during the general election. Then he started to talk to the Islamic community and say, look, I've heard your concerns and I'm going to have an investigation in the Conservative Party against Islamophobia. He's going to purge the Conservative Party of anybody who's critical of Islam. And then we've got the asylum situation. People coming into the border. Boris said during the general election campaign that he would stop people coming into this country illegally and he would send them back. He made that promise explicit to the British people. Now that he's elected, we know that was an empty promise. It was actually an outright lie. And we've seen the number of boats coming into Dover multiply. Now these are crafts that people have to buy. They're expensive crafts that they're bringing the migrants across the channel into Britain. They're expensive. These boats are a lot of money, and there's 2,000 of them already in stores in Dover. They've already collected 2,000 of these boats. So you can imagine the scale of this operation. They've got to purchase these boats. They've got to put them somewhere. They've got to have a port from which to launch them, or somewhere in France to launch them. And we're finding out now that the French police know where these boats are located. They know about this whole operation. And so do the British police. The British police are over in France. They're involved with these boats and with setting up these migrants crossing the channel. Our police force. They're actually selecting which migrants are going to be allowed to cross the channel. The British police. They're interviewing them in France. Because they don't want terrorists coming over, and they're trying to vet out any terrorist, potential terrorist, jihadists, known jihadists. But they're okay in Eritreans, they're okay in Iranians, they're okay in Pakistanis, they're okay in Nigerians, and they're coming across. The French Navy, they're telling the French Navy when they're going to launch the boats. The French Navy are escorting them to the middle of the channel. The British have been following them on the drones. They're ready with the ships to take them from the centre of the channel to the Kent coast, and there the police are ready for them to protect them from any protesters. And the social services are ready for them. They're being ferried onto coaches. They're being taken to centres that have already been set up by the British government to receive them, and then they're being pushed out into hotels across the country. It's a huge operation from the government down. The government are organising this mass invasion of Britain, and they're trying to deceive us that somehow it's a series of random events that they're going to stop. They're lying to us. It's fraudulent what's going on. We're all being deceived as a people. And, you know, Priti Patel, or I call it Pretty Pathetic, it makes all these promises about being tough on immigration and strengthening our borders. She went over to France to meet with these migrants, and she said they're concerned about racism in France, and they're concerned about police brutality in France, justifying their crossing the channel, this illegal invasion of our country. She's justifying, she's giving them excuses. Now it's all about racism in France. There are 8 million Muslims in France. Paris is run by the Muslim majority. Marseille, the 2 biggest cities in France, are run by Muslims, so is Marseille. What racism is he talking about? These people, France is more politically correct than we are. You know, it's absurd, the statement that she made, but it's all points to the fact that the Tories have deceived the British people, and they're going to let us down. They're quite happy for the immigrants, because we're not talking just about a channel invasion, are we? There's at least 50,000 bogus asylum seekers housed in hotels across this country, at least 50,000. The level of immigration is still at a rate of 500,000 a year, even though we've had the COVID situation, the COVID epidemic. The immigrants are still pouring in. They're still coming in planes from Pakistan and Nigeria and wherever. We're being invaded as a country. We're being taken over. There's no doubt about it. With the complicity of the government. Yeah. The government are involved in this up to their neck. They're actually organising this dispossession of the British people. You go to London now, or you go to Birmingham, or go to Manchester, they're no longer English cities, that's obvious. They've got this structure of an English city, but the population has been replaced. And this replacement is going on now out of the main cities, into the smaller towns, you know, the Halifaxes, the Huddersfields, the Dewsburys, you know, we all know the rest, Leicester, Coventry, Luton, right across this country now. Our English cities and English towns are becoming centres for foreign colonisation, and we are being pushed aside. And nobody is speaking for us. The media will not speak for us, no political force. I mean, we've just had this group in Parliament called the Common Sense Group, which has been formed by 40 Conservative MPs, who said, look, we need urgent legislation to stop this invasion. And I thought to myself, 40 Tory MPs have actually, you know, bitten the bullet and said, look, we need action on this issue. That's just over 10% of the Conservative MPs. The other 90% are indifferent to what's going on or actually support it. Why aren't these Tory MPs who we've elected in the north and the others, you know, creating a real fuss about this? Because they've got the power. They've got the power to stop it. It wouldn't be any. I mean, people have said that Boris is handicapped by May's sort of agreements, the Marrakesh agreement and so on, and that he can't stop this invasion, you know, because he'll be stopped by the courts and he's got international commitments. It's all poppycock. If the government's got the will to stop it, they can stop it. The government, Parliament, this is why we left the European Union. Parliament is sovereign in our land again. No one has greater power than the House of Commons. If the House of Commons passes the legislation, no one can contradict it. Not the Supreme Court, not the international courts. Parliament is sovereign in our land again. And Boris Johnson, as a majority of 80, he can basically do what he wants. But what he wants to do is very frightening indeed. Because not only is he encouraging the mass Muslim invasion of Britain for what it is, that's what it really is, he is empowering them within Britain. Ever since 1997, when Tony Blair took power, they've had a policy in government to give positive discrimination to Muslims, black applicants in government jobs, civil service jobs, any jobs, local government jobs. They get priority. If you go in against them, I mean, and especially after the Equality Act that Harriet Harman passed, If you stand, if you go as a job applicant against a Muslim or an African, a black, they will get priority over you, they will get the position. And what's happened is that our whole state apparatus has been colonised by the immigrants. They hold enormous power. The people who are actually processing these asylum claims and making judgments on them are not English people anymore. They're probably Muslim people. And what do you think the decision they're going to make is going to be? They're going to give the nod, aren't they? They're going to always lean in favour of their own people. I mean, we've got the Home Office Minister, her family come from Gujarat in India. They settled in Uganda for a time, then came to Britain. They're Hindus. They're not committed to our Christian history and our Christian culture. They're not even committed to our nation. This is just a place for them to abide at the time. These are the people who are in control of this whole situation. And then we've got, of course, the Chancellor of the Exchequer. He's another Hindu. He's another settler from India. They haven't got roots in this country. They don't have the same loyalty and patriotism that we have in our hearts. They've come here to seek advantage for themselves. And of course they're going to be, just by inclination, towards their own people. Even Dominic Raab, who's the Foreign Secretary, I mean, his family came from the Czech Republic. James Cleverly, another top guy, his family came from Sierra Leone. Boris Johnson himself was born in America. We know he's got Jewish and Muslim background and so on. How committed are these people to saving Britain? They're not committed at all. How committed are they to the indigenous people of this country, who've been here for 10,000 years, who've worked the land, who've fought the wars, who built up Britain and made it a great country? It's our country, it belongs to us. And yet, the people in power don't respect that, and they're happy for us to be pushed aside and destroyed. They're not looking after our interest. Trump talks about America first. Trump has now stopped all immigration into America. There's no immigration into America now. Forget the wall. He's stopped all immigration into America. He is really committed to making sure the American people are put first in their own country. It's like, because he's the president of America, he's like the father figure of America, he's responsible for the American people, and he takes that responsibility seriously, and the Americans respect that. We have a prime minister who should put the British people first. If he doesn't put the British people first, who is going to? Nobody. We're in a sense, we're being disenfranchised. In a sense, we've just been pushed to the margin. And no MPs are speaking up. Some Tories are starting to rattle a cage a bit. Come on, let's have a bit more boldness, a bit more courage in that. Let them start shouting that there's something rotten in the state of Britain and it needs to be addressed and addressed quickly. And we can't have faith in Boris. So what are we going to do, the British people? Are we just going to lie down and surrender? No. Are we just going to allow this invasion to walk all over us and trample on us and destroy us? We've got to rally, haven't we? We've got to form our battalions. We've got to make our voice heard again. And we've had parties in the past like UKIP. I mean, UKIP was fantastic at rattling the cage and making our voice heard on the European issue and winning us the referendum. And then, of course, Nigel Farage started the Brexit Party. And it's only when the Tories faced opposition from the right that they actually started to listen to the British people. Now, UKIP are dead now, they're a dinosaur. I was amazed that someone mentioned earlier that they had activists at a demonstration. I didn't know they still existed, to be honest. The Brexit Party is dead in the water. We need a new force. And there's only one party in this country now, to the right, well, not to the right, to the patriotic side of the Conservatives, who was organising, getting ready to stand, and is campaigning, and that's for Britain. And wow, is this party needed? Has this party got an important role to play now? It's fantastic that candidates are going to be put up in local elections. Not only does that give people a chance to vote for you and to express their dissent of what's going on, it's part we have to continue to educate people and encourage people and say to people, yes, there is an alternative, we're not defeated. We've got to break a spirit of defeatism. We've got to move to a spirit of defiance and rebellion and reassertion. I mean, you know, another guy here down in Epping Forest, Julian Leppard, yeah, he got elected, didn't he? And there's another candidate got elected. Yeah, people, you see, these local candidates are so important. We've had issues now. We know these bogus asylum seekers are being farmed out into expensive hotels all over the country in luxury accommodation. Shocking that is. Criminals are treated in that way, because they are criminals. They're just illegal invaders. And these people, of course, don't follow our laws and have little respect for our laws, and are known to create criminal situations. They're known. I mean, there's been a whole plague of child abuse and sexual abuse from the immigrant communities directed at the English children in this country, in this nation. We all know about that, because there's been over 100 cases, hasn't there, of Muslim grooming gangs, you know, who've been found guilty. You know, this has gone on. This is a plague in our country, so we know these situations are evolving all the time, developing. But unless we have people who've got a voice locally, politically, nobody will address that issue. The police won't address it, the media won't address it. If you, I mean, look at Julian Leppard in Epping. He's gone round to the hotel, and he's got a response. He's got a response from the police and from the political powers. They've had to acknowledge that he is right in what he's saying, that these people are not entitled to these hotels and they shouldn't be there. Now, if you get a local councillor in, the police are accountable to him. When he addresses the question, the police have to respond. If he speaks to the local council, the people in power have to respond. They can't hide away what they're doing. They can't hide away that they're funneling huge amounts of funds to these illegal immigrants. They'll hide that away, you see, if there's no accountability. We've got to call the powers that be to account. When you get one councillor elected, it makes a huge impact. It's a catalyst for change in an area. And because we've got the social media, what that councillor manages to achieve, we can show it to the rest of the British people. This has all given people hope that we can fight back against this. Because we've got to break the spirit of defeat and the spirit of apathy. And we've got to say to people, hey, this is a country worth fighting for. We are a people that don't deserve this. We've shown goodwill over the years. We've provided so much for these people coming in, these immigrants. We've been soft touch, haven't we? We've been taken for a ride. But it's gone too far now. There has been far, especially since 1997 when Tony Blair got elected, there's been far too much immigration into this country. It's become, as I said earlier, it's become transformational. We're actually losing, we're actually being dispossessed now. We have to press the panic button. Now, people might say, wow, this is a big challenge ahead. It is a big challenge ahead. But this is happening across Europe, and it's been happening across North America, it's happening in Australia and New Zealand. And forces have risen in these countries to challenge it. You know, we can go to all of the parties in Europe, the likes of Salvini and Santiago Abascal in Spain with the Vox Party, or the AfD in Germany, or, you know, the Front National in France, or, you know, all the Swedish Democrats. And all these countries, a force of resistance has emerged and become a powerful force and a powerful voice in their countries for the preservation of their people, their societies, their heritage and their history. Because we've got to fight for what is ours. You know, it's like we're being robbed, aren't we? Our heritage is being stolen from us. I mean, look at the BBC now. It's run by Marxists and Muslims, and they have no respect for the British heritage whatsoever. Even Rule Britannia, our great rallying song, is now beyond the pale. I don't watch the BBC. I have no contact with the BBC at all. I have 100% boycott of the BBC because it's now the anti-British Broadcasting Corporation. It's our enemy. But this belonged to us. It's been stolen off us with the complicity of the politicians. You know, ever since really Margaret Thatcher got the knife in the back in when was that? 1990, November 1990 was when she fell. The people who've run this country have run it in the interest of other people. They haven't run it in our interest, and it's created a real stink, which is getting more and more odious, and we're in greater and greater danger. But as I said, Across the Western world, there's a huge rebellion against this. The white working class, or the working class in general, has rejected the socialist parties. France is dead, the Socialist Party of Italy is dead. The Socialist Party in Spain's in power, but it's really on the rack. You know, the SPD in Germany's hasn't been in power for a long time. Its votes has collapsed about 15% now. It used to be the biggest, most powerful political party in the world, the SPD in Germany, the German Socialists. There's what they call de-alignment. The white working class have recognised that the socialist parties are no longer a voice for them. And of course, we know in Britain that the Labour Party has been comprehensively rejected. And the Labour Party, that was once the voice of the working class, especially in the north, has become the voice of the immigrants, of the Marxists, of the woke, you know, the sort of the lefties, if you like. They don't speak for ordinary people anymore. They don't speak on our issues. I mean, the Labour Party was founded by Keir Hardie. He was a Christian. He wanted to improve the lives of people in this country. He wanted to do a good work. The Labour Party today is so anti-Christian, it's ridiculous. You know, they want to have abortion up to birth. You know, but for me, it's, in my view, it's murder. You know, any form of sexual perversity is promoted. The family is denigrated at every turn because the two things in this country that used to have authority, the church or belief in God, and the family, are rubbish at every turn now. Because the government wants to have sole authority, tell us and dictate to us. We have to re-establish those two forces in society. We have to have a source of authority outside of the government. And the political party is an important aspect of that. But obviously, it's not only in Europe that this has happened. Most spectacularly, it's happened in the United States, where the Democrat Party was very similar to our Labour Party. It was the party of the unions, the white working class, and also the black minority, and it was the party of the underprivileged. It became the party of a privileged group in society, the liberal elite, the people who control the universities, allied to the bankers on Wall Street. You know, it's sort of alliance and bringing in mass immigration. Again, we see the presence of Islam, the Muslim Brotherhood, very much involved with the Democrat Party, very much involved with the BLM movement. And they got Obama elected, who I believe was a closet Muslim, and who advanced the Islamic cause around the world. And these people were not serving the Americans anymore. They were serving other groups, the globalist agenda, the destruction of the nation state. The nation state is a barrier to the globalists, because the globalists want to treat us like pawns, want to treat us like serfs that they can push around and manipulate as they want. But we're not. This is the point we have to assert ourselves, that we are citizens of this country. We have rights. The government of this country does not serve foreign interest, it serves our interest. It's our government. We elect it, we pay the wages, they're there to look after us. And they've got to be accountable to us. And that's the role of For Britain. We've got to call these people to account. Yeah. Now, Donald Trump rose up and he made that accusation against the Democrat Party. He said, you know, these trade deals that you're making with China and with the EU, they're not serving America's interest. Whose interest do you serve them? When the Clinton Foundation got donations of billions of pounds from all sorts of Arabs and, you know, all sorts of world leaders were pouring money into the Clinton Foundation, a charitable foundation. They were being bought. These people are being bought by foreign elites, by Arab oil money, by the Chinese Communist Party, by the bureaucracies, the United Nations, the European Union, these global bureaucracies that think they control the planet, and we're there to do as they tell us. But we have a different tradition in this country. We have a democratic tradition. Every individual in this country has a voice. We won that through the years, through civil war, and through struggle, and through the elite recognising our worth and our dignity. Everybody in this country has a voice, and that voice has to be heard. Everybody in this country has a vote, and that vote has to count. Now, one of the things that really injures me about mass immigration is not that these people are coming here and getting huge benefits, like free healthcare, free education, free welfare, free housing, which we're paying for. That's bad enough, that's an injustice. But these people are being given the vote. They're being given political power. It's diluting our vote. It's diluting our power. It's diluting our rights. Every time they give an immigrant a passport and a vote, we lose. Because they've been brought in to serve the globalist elite, to serve this liberal elite, to vote for this liberal elite who looks after them. But, as we showed with the EU referendum, 17.5 million, we can turn the tables on the elite. Donald Trump called out the Trump train, he rallied the American people, and I still love watching those videos of the night Donald Trump won the election. Just the look of shock on the media's face and on the liberal elite's face. I mean, that amazing party in New York. Remember that the party in New York for the Democrats for Hillary's victory, where they had the glass ceiling that she was going to break, and there was thousands gathered there, and they prepared this spectacular celebration. They bought over $500,000 worth of fireworks to set off when Hillary won. And the Democrats said, you just have to go home, we'll see what's happening tomorrow. You know, they were devastated. Nobody expected Trump to win that election because there was so much money against him. I mean, the Saudis have poured billions into that campaign of Hillary Clinton to stop Trump. You know, but Trump, he's an extraordinary guy, isn't he? He's an absolutely extraordinary guy. And, you know, he has faced so much flack and so much hostility. I mean, I think someone told me there'd be 26 assassination attempts against him. You know, he's denigrated by the American mass media day in, day out. We've even had William Hague, the former leader of the Tory party, writing against him in the Telegraph today. I mean, they just attack him non-stop, and it's water off a duck's back. It doesn't bother him. The guy's got, I mean, you know, he hasn't got thick skin, he's got concrete skin, hasn't he? Nothing bothers him, and he perseveres, and God willing, he's going to win on November 3rd. And that's what a lift that'll be for all of us. Because his message is our message. Put British people first. Strengthen our borders. We want a fair society. You know, we obviously, but in a sense, you know, you got things like foreign aid. We give a huge amount of foreign aid to pay for education in Pakistan. We pay for the education system in Pakistan, and it's a big fraud. The whole thing's a fraud. It costs hundreds of £1 million. The kids aren't even getting educated, but people are pocketing our money. This is going on in Africa, the third world. Billions, we give billions away every year on foreign aid. It just disappears. I mean, we need to have a choice on that. We need a political party that says, look, we're going to be sensible about giving aid to other countries. We're not just going to pour money into the sand. We've got to look after our people first. It's people, hard-working British people who pay the taxes who've got to be looked after first. We want taxes to be reduced on working people in this country. We want social housing to be available for our needy people, not for the needy people of the world. We've got our own needy people to look after. We don't want millions of immigrants into this country. We've got enough. More than enough. More than enough. In fact, a lot of them need to go back, the truth is, because they have no right to be here. Now, it's England's green and pleasant land, but as the population is exploding now because of immigration, they've got rid of the green belts, and they're building on green land, and we're going to become a concrete jungle, a slum, a third world slum. And everything we value in England, our countryside, our villages, you know, we all like to go out to the city and love our English countryside. And our British countryside, well, Scotland's fantastic, isn't it? Northern Ireland, even Ireland itself. You know, these things, we want these things preserved. That's the will of the British people. We don't want our countryside to be concreted over.
Villages are becoming Muslim strongholds now.
You know, and they're taking immigrants. Now, a lot of these immigrants now, we're seeing them coming in, are single males. They're not even families. They might come in and get established and bring their family in, and that's another big thing, isn't it? About, you know, immigration, chain migration as they call it. But they're coming in and they're putting young, fit men who have no respect for our culture, in fact, despise our culture, if the truth be known. Islam despises our culture. They're putting these men into vulnerable places where people are not able to protect themselves. And if people do protect themselves, if the local men stand up to what's going on, criminality, abuse of children, the police intervene, don't they? not on our side. What has happened to the British police force? We've seen this sort of veterans march in Nottingham over the weekend.
We were there. Yeah, we were
And
there.
the police threw truncheons and attacked our military veterans, our soldiers.
They do that all the time.
Yeah, they do that all the time, yeah.
Yeah, Kettle, but this time they actually attacked them. They used to show a bit of respect for the veterans who served the country and it just standing up on righteous issues. What has become of our police force? It's been they have this thing called common purpose, don't they? And they've all been brainwashed into becoming sort of crypto-Marxist to see the enemy not as the criminal from abroad, but as the decent, law-abiding British citizen. It's now the enemy. That's their target, the easy target for the police, who they can stop at traffic offences and fine at will, who they can kettle in and prevent from expressing their democratic right. We all have a democratic right of freedom of assembly. We all have a democratic right to go on a march. We all have a democratic right to express our opinions. This is written down in the European Convention of Human Rights. We can express our opinions as long as we don't incite violence directly, and as long as we don't defame people or lie, blatantly lie, or we are allowed to say whatever we want. If we want to be critical of Islam, we have the right to be critical of a foreign ideology. If we want to be critical of political correctness, we have a right to stand up against it and say, look, this is discriminating against the British people, it's wrong. And we have to assert those rights. Now we know social media is very controlled, it's a very controlled mechanism. I mean, I remember when I first went on Twitter, I used to just shoot from the hip and I got a great response. I had millions of impressions on some of my tweets, and it was great. I thought, wow, this is freedom, After years of having the media controlled by the likes of the BBC, suddenly we have freedom on social media. But the likes of Yvette Cooper, we know what happened there. They started taking away our freedom. Initially, they only went for the people who were real extremists, who were advocating violence, or were using abusive language, or were threatening people. They went for them initially, but then they went for just patriotic voices, and even conservative voices. People like Stefan Molyneux now is banning me off YouTube. They just ban people, and Trump has addressed that and tried to stop it, and if he gets re-elected, I'm hoping that he will really address that issue and give us freedom on social media again. But we still have a great deal of freedom on social media. We can still get the message out. In a sense, it teaches us to be disciplined, this censorship. Not to be abusive of anybody, but to be very careful in what we say and how we craft what we say. But we can get the message out, we can spread it around. Social media is still a fantastic asset for a dissident political movement like us. But I see great things ahead for Britain. It's going to be the only patriotic party that is going to be allowed to contest elections. It's going to be the only patriotic party that is going to win elections. It's going to be the only patriotic party whose banner is going to rise higher and higher. It's shown now over the last 5 years, it's got the legs, it's got the roots, it's put down deep roots. A big tree, in order to get bigger and bigger, needs deeper and deeper roots. It takes time to put the roots down, to get a branch network. People have seen the commitment of activists for Britain. They've seen the commitment of Anne-Marie Waters, they've seen the commitment of Eddie Butler, Ian, many other people, and they've recognised that. People recognise what's going on, saying these people are here. They're not here 1 minute, gone the next. They're committed people who are serious about this endeavour. This is a serious political force, and it's got real potential to grow. We have to get a network right across the country. We have to compete in elections right across the country, at local level and at national level. There's no European level anymore. That was an easy entree for small parties because it was PR. But there will be by-elections that we can compete in. We need to have real focus campaigns. We need to have activists who are willing to go out and post leaflets and meet the public. We need a growing profile on social media. I mean, Anne-Marie Waters has been incredible. The amount of footage she's produced for social media. I mean, that lady can talk. I think she's got the gift, the touch of the Blarney Stone to myself. The touch of the Blarney
I think
Stone.
she's very down to earth and very, she knows.
But she's just a front. In many ways, she's a shield for this party. But we need behind her a real organisation. You need You need a group of at least 40 committed people, able people, to get a national party going. If you can get 40 to 80 people, you can change a nation. If they've got the right ideas, if they harmonise with the way British people are thinking, and the British people are on our side. Do the British people like these boats coming across the channel? Did the British people like their taxes being thrown away on foreign criminals? Did the British people like their cities being taken off them? No, there's resentment there. But they can't see any hope unless we mobilise and organise and present that hope to them, and they will respond to that. Because we are the British people. We're just ordinary people from ordinary ways of life who don't like what's happening. And we want a future. We want a future not only for ourselves, but for our children and our grandchildren. We want a future for the British nation. We're conscious of our history, the glory of our civilization, the greatness of our civilization. You know, the whole world speaks our language. Why? Because we were a positive force in the world. We had great people like William Shakespeare, like James Cook, so many we could name. We changed the world. We were a transformational force in the world. We helped the world become a much, much better place. We gave birth to another country called the United States, which is now the powerhouse of the world. And we're looking to America for help in this struggle. Because I believe if Donald Trump wins the election on November the 3rd, which is highly likely, Donald Trump's mother came from Scotland, from the island of Harris, in the Outer Hebrides, an obscure place in the British Isles. He's proud of that Scottish heritage, and he's proud of this country, his roots in this country, and he cares about us. He cares about this nation, and he wants to save Britain. I mean, when Boris Johnson made this deal with Hawaii, whatever, the Chinese technical company, to give them control of our internet, basically, Donald Trump said, no, you don't want them people running Britain. Stop it. Boris tried to resist Donald, but Donald made sure that Johnson changed his mind on that one. He's going to stand against Johnson. He's going to tell Johnson to get control of the borders. He's going to tell Johnson to book up his act and revive Britain, to strengthen the British nation again. You know, to follow his agenda, put Britain first, like Donald's put America first. But Trump is going to need allies in this country. He's going to need a voice which echoes what he says. He's going to need people that he can connect with in this battle. And this is our role. You see, this is a global movement now to save the West, in a sense. And we need an organisation in Britain that is big enough to have a voice. And the Conservative Party hasn't got that voice. The Conservative Party it's sold its soul, hasn't it? And it can't find its soul again. It's like it's lost its soul. It needs us to get in there and to bite the leg and to challenge them and say, no, this is the British people. This is the ordinary people of Britain, the yeomen of Britain. We're standing up again. We're standing for our nation. In this tradition that we've had in the past, you know, we've always, if the elite has become too dictatorial or disrespected us in the past in Britain, we've risen up and we've challenged them and we've brought them to account.
We're going to get rid of them.
We need that revival of British defiance, British bloody-mindedness, strength of will to save our nation. We have to stir our heart again. We have to remember that we're a fighting nation. We've got hearts of oak. We're the people that won the Battle of Trafalgar who defeated Napoleon. We're the people who won the Battle of Britain and stopped Hitler. We're the people who won the First World War in those bloody trenches. We prevailed in the end. We're the people who went across the whole globe, over mountains, over deserts. We stopped the slave trading in our own nation, and then we stopped the whole world, that slave trade of the world. It's interesting that when we had actually stopped slavery in 1806, the Africans sent a delegation to Britain and said, you cannot stop the slave trade. This is the basis of our economy in West Africa. The British said no. Our conscience has been pricked. We don't want to do this, and we don't want anybody else to do it. And thousands of British sailors and soldiers fought the slavers right through the 19th century. I mean, you're looking at places like Uganda, Sudan, the Battle of Omdurman, which Winston Churchill took part in. That was a battle to stop slavery, to stop the Muslims enslaving Africans. I've got a friend.
They're still doing it.
I've got a friend, Pastor Banjo. He's a Nigerian pastor. He's got a big church in Newcastle. And he said, I love this country, Pastor Banjo. He said, don't believe that the Africans are anti-British. We love this country, he said. Because in the 1880s, there was a jihad, an Islamic jihad, which came south through North Africa and was going to overwhelm the whole of West Africa. These were armed Muslim groups facing Africans who basically had spears, and they were enslaving and destroying the Africans. It was the British Army who went in there to stop them. And where the British Army stopped the jihad, stopped the Muslim armies, that line there, across West Africa, south of that line, southern Nigeria, Ghana, is Christian. North of that is Muslim. So the Christians in the south of Nigeria are really thankful that they weren't enslaved by the Muslims. That's the role we played in the 19th century. We went out across the world to advance civilization, to advance human rights, to advance human dignity. I mean, in India we stopped this, they used to throw the female babies into the river, the Karana, the crocodile god. The British said, no, we don't do that. That's barbaric. We had a conscience. We've lost that conscience in our own country now. We have to have more children. We have to strengthen our families. We have to regain the righteousness we once had in this land. Decent, moral people. Because once we regain that, that gives us the strength and the purpose to regain our whole nation. It says in the Bible, the righteous are as bold as lions. And that's how we've got to be. We've got to be as bold as lions. Now, some people are weary. They think they might face some sort of problems for being involved with a dissident party. But I've been involved now in patriotic politics for the last 20 years. I have been arrested 3 times, but all 3 times I've been vindicated. I've been found not guilty or released. And I've actually countercharged the police and prosecuted the police and put the police on the defensive. You get all the left screaming, they want to scream abuse at us, they want to stick labels on us, Nazis, fascists, bigots.
Bring it on.
We're the opposite of that. We believe in freedom, we believe in liberty, we believe in human decency, we believe in respect for human life, we believe in respect for our nation. We can only achieve those goals if our nation is strong and if we have control of it again. We've got to disempower this liberal elite. It's a big mission that we've got actually as a party, but that's got to be our ultimate goal. We've got to do to this country what Donald Trump has done to America. We have to disempower the liberal elite and put the patriots back in charge. So, we've got on the first rung of the ladder. We've had UKIP, we've had the Brexit referendum, we're fighting for freedom from Europe, we've regained our freedom, we've got to use that. We're climbing up this ladder step by step, and it's time now to begin a surge. I believe the British people are hungry for a new party, for a patriotic party. They're hungry to vote for people who stand up for them and speak about the issues that they face, and they're already disillusioned with Boris Johnson. The disillusionment is growing by the day. They will not go back to Labour because Labour offers nothing but more contempt and a worse situation. They need a new voice, and we're going to be that voice. We're going to be the voice that speaks for the British people, that gives the British people hope again. And ultimately, we're going to have to take power in this country. This is the seed of a new ruling class in this country, of ordinary British people. Like happened with the Labour Party way back in the start of the 20th century. A party that spoke for the ordinary working man, who campaigned for pensions, for old people. That campaigned for sickness benefit for those people who couldn't work. That campaigned for health services for the poor in this country. We've got to be a party that stands for righteousness, that stands for what's best in this country. And I think the country is hungry for it. I really do. I think the country is hungry for a new voice. And for Britain, it's certainly given the people of this country a new voice. Thank you.